The Maple Leafs find themselves in a big hole, down 2-0 to the Panthers as the series shifts to Florida. Hey everyone, welcome into another SUN Sports Roundtable. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Sports columnist Steve Simmons and Toronto Sun Maple Leafs writer Terry Koshan. And guys, despite outplaying the Panthers for large stretches of the first two games, the Leafs trailing 2-0 in their second round series. Steve, is there still some hope that the Leafs can dig themselves out of this?
Well, there's always hope, but to be perfectly honest, this is a pretty good Panthers team. And I think some of us may have underrated how good this team really is. And to sit here and say that they can take 4 of the next 5 games, having scored just 2 goals in each of the first 2, um, it's a mountain. They're climbing a big mountain now. And if I'm a betting person right now, they're not winning the series, and I thought they would win the series, and I think it's disappointing that they're not in position at least to have split the first 2 games at home, especially after being up 2-0 after less than 2 minutes last night, or after less than a few minutes last night, and you jump on them. That's the way you should take advantage at home, and the Leafs just didn't take advantage.
Playoff hockey, nothing should surprise the Leafs at this point, and they should be disappointed they're going down to Florida, down 2-0. Here we are talking about, Steve, the give the Panthers credit for perhaps being a better team. We thought, well, why are we saying that now? Like, the Maple Leafs are a good hockey team too, and they had a hell of a regular season that they just knocked off a team that had a heck of a lot more experience and battle scars than they did. So the Leafs find them. It's like Sheldon Keefe said last night. I know he was referring to the mistakes early in the second that led to 2 goals. He said it was baffling, but overall, it's baffling. The Leafs find themselves in this spot. I'm not of the mind. Yeah, some of the underlying numbers say they've controlled play a bit, but that's misleading to me because they're just not getting the types of opportunities that they had, in the round against Tampa. And by that I mean, making it difficult for the goaltender. I mean, Bobrovsky's had to make some good saves, don't get me wrong, but he's seeing a lot. And one of the reasons why the Leafs won the first series is because they made sure that Andrei Vasilevsky did not. So I guess the bonus, or not bonus, but the positive for the Leafs, if you will, is that they know where these things can be fixed and how they can be fixed. The trouble with that is they said that after game 1 and it didn't matter.
Well, there's an absolute certainty that I know of. When you're a team, you can't beat 2 teams on the same night. And this is the problem the Leafs have had in game 1 and game 2. They had to beat the Panthers, and they had to beat themselves. And they're not beating themselves right now. They're giving the puck away way too often. They're making mistakes that are not playoff mistakes way too often, and not the kind of mistakes this team has made. They have been a very good defensive team pretty much the entire season. Why they're not right now, and why they're making bad mistakes, and why they're giving the puck away as often as they are in bad places. And we're not just talking about the Justin Holes of the world who aren't even dressed. Austin Matthews on a goal, and Nylander on a goal, and Tavares falling. Like, there's so many mistakes being made by good players, and you can't beat 2 teams. And the Leafs have to figure out how to beat the Leafs before they figure out how to beat the Panthers.
Well, as we look ahead to game number 3, Terry, Sergei Bobrovsky might be the stories of this series so far, and he's looked like the old version that was winning Vezina trophies a few years ago. You mentioned how difficult the Leafs made it for Andrei Vasilevsky in round 1. Is that the game plan here the rest of the way, that the Leafs have to make it a little bit tougher on the Panthers netminder?
Well, it has to be, but let's keep in mind the idea that has to be out there somewhere that they might just lose the series because they're beaten by a better goalie. And some of the things they may want to do, might not work, or might not, be successful to the point that you've scored enough goals to beat Florida on any given night. So, again, they haven't made him be spectacular. He's been good. He's made some good saves. Samsonov made a hell of a save on Aaron Ekblad last night. We're talking about that more if his teammates can put the puck in that at the other end. So he has made some saves too. It's all part of playoff hockey and goaltending. It's on the Leafs now. It's on Sheldon Keefe and his coaching staff to figure it out. But getting back to Steve's point, get just a minute, Steve. Getting back to Steve's point earlier too, is that stop beating yourselves, but not only in the defensive zone, but in the offensive zone as well, because you can be doing a lot more than you've been doing so far.
We've been watching Sergei Bobrovsky for a very long time. He is the goalie with multiple personalities. And he is the goalie that in any one game can be great and terrible and great again. And that's the way he plays. You just don't know game to game to game. What they haven't done is make it difficult for him. They haven't gone side to side enough, which is how O'Reilly got the goal early last night. They haven't had guys in front enough. They haven't had second shots. Have they had any sustained offense per se in the two games? They've had good chances.
Well, they've had, Steve. They have, but a lot of it has been on the outside.
But I'm saying
they've had some sustained offensive zone time. But what you're saying is right. The Kerfoot goal was a good example last night too. What happens when you put the puck in that and there's people there? It winds up in the back of the net. They're not doing that anymore.
You look at the goals. Samsonov gave up a bad one last night. The first one, the one to Barkov, was a bad goal. The rest of the night he played fine. And I don't think he's the reason that they're down 2-0. But if you look right now, to win game 1, they had to score 5 goals. To win game 2, they had to score 4. They're scoring 2 a game. And this is all of these $10 million guys are scoring 2 goals a game. Hello? Well, that's what they're here for.
As I wrote today, the on-ice leadership hasn't been there from these guys, and it has to start. And, what do they got? Nylander has gone forever, recording a point. Tavares doesn't have a point in the series. Between the two of them, Marner and Matthews have 3 assists. Not even close to being good enough.
Yep, the Leafs definitely need a lot more from their stars at this point to dig themselves out of the hole. Let us know your thoughts on these topics in the comments section below. For Steve Simmons and Terry Koshan, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time on another SUN Sports Roundtable.